want us to feel confident and happy when we make our junk journals. So that's all the way from a creative start to finishing one. And for me that means knowing how to bind a signature into the cover simply and easily. So in this video I'm going to share 5 key tips for quick and easy binding. And if, like me, you just love creating journals, you love playing with paper, then hit the subscribe button and that little notification bell, because I've got lots more projects and videos to come. My first tip is to choose a simple binding method, and for me it's a figure of 8. I've used this on many of my junk journals that I've shown in my recent series, and it seems to be strong enough to hold quite a large number of papers, with extra belly bands, with pockets, with extra inserts. So I've been using that relatively successfully on a number of different journals. You see this one has got lots of lovely extra thick and quite heavy papers, and it's working for that. I've used it on some of my art journals, so it's been okay for larger papers and for those with extra pieces added. There's a lot of weight on this. It seemed to work okay. It was an evolution from just a single circle that I'd done, and I felt that when I had used this on this particular art journal it just wasn't strong enough. The figure of 8 allows you to make a choice about whether the dangly bit of string or the extra tassel that you might want to add is on the outside, or whether you want to tuck it away on the inside, which you could do. And I'll show you in a couple of minutes how to make sure that you finish with the tassel on the outside. So tip number 1, choose a simple binding method, and my suggestion is the figure of 8. My second suggestion is about having just a really simple set of supplies to use that you can repeat use, so that you just get happy and confident in doing your binding. And I use a darning needle, and this one is intentionally bent. It has quite a large eye so I can fit the string through, which is what I use, and I even use that for making the holes, which I'll show you later. So a ball of string, and this string that I buy is quite soft, which does make it easier to sew with, but it's just a piece of cheap string. You want a ruler for measuring the holes, and as I'll show you shortly, you want a bulldog clip to hold the papers as you bring together the signature and the cover. So have a small set of supplies, reuse your approach and your method, and I think that will help with confidence and just being really happy as you go about making your journal. My other suggestion is that you use a piece of string that is about 3 times the length of your journal, and what this will do is give you enough string to make it really easy to tie off when you come to finish the signature, and just maybe make that into a bow. And stop you having fiddly little bits at the end where you're trying to tie it off. So that's my suggestion about having a small set of supplies. Let's just talk about measuring the holes and the placement of the signature into the cover. So maybe I can work with an example here. This is just a little traveller's notebook size one I was putting together. The approach that I'm suggesting is that you start with your ruler and the cover. You find the middle of the cover, you make a mark, and you make a hole with your darning needle. Then just mark a couple of points either side of that central hole. On this one I would make it at about 5 centimetres either side of the central hole, make a mark and make a hole with your darning needle. Then with the signature, find the centre, make a mark, and make a hole by pushing your darning needle gradually through the signature. And the bulldog clip at this stage will help hold those pages in the correct place as you're putting pressure on the paper. And then, just as you did with the cover, measure 4 or 5 centimetres, the same number of centimetres as you did on the cover obviously, either side of the central hole, make a mark and make a hole. And in fact, another tip is to actually put the papers into a neat little pile by collecting them on their head. So align them at the top of the page and then put the bulldog clip in and fold out those little flappy bits. And what this does is just make it really tidy to the eye, as opposed to having all of the papers aligned at the bottom, which you might naturally do if you weren't thinking. You might, you know, just gather them like that. If you were to do that and line it up at the bottom, because we tend to not create pages that are perfectly the same size, you'll have different sizes and little bits pushing out at the top, which may not bother you. That might be absolutely fine. But if you wanted them lined up, I tend to go for the perfect lining at the top, hold with the bulldog clip, and then bring them together with the cover so that you can sew them in. And my last tip then, my fifth tip, is about sewing and tying in your signature to your cover. And the little tip here is, having threaded your soft string through your darning needle, the key is start where you mean to finish. So sew from the outside in through the top hole if you want your little tassel to finish at the top, as I tend to do on my little journals. So sew from the outside through, find the middle hole from the centre, sew through, come out, go from the outside in, bring it through at the bottom, and then reverse, and you'll end up with a figure of 8 of string. And my last tip is sew with the string being fairly loose, and only when you've done the figure of 8 then worry about tightening it all up. Don't try to make it really tight as you go along, because you're just making life hard for yourself. So 5 tips: choose a simple method, have a small set of supplies to work with, measure the holes and place the papers neatly and easily, make the holes using your darning needle, make best use of your bulldog clip, and then sew and tie it all together with a really easy figure of 8. I hope that's been useful. Let me know your suggestions and ideas, I'm really interested. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you next week with some more projects and ideas. Bye!